This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, can everybody online hear us now? If you are on camera,
Yes.
thumbs up, we got a thumbs up. Okay, got it. Sorry, we're gonna have to start over.
So just a quick summary, we opened the meeting and now we're,
Are you letting us ask questions about the budget now? Or did I-
Not at this moment, no.
so the first meeting is gonna be the budget meeting. We had a town hall about 4 weeks ago, 4.5 weeks ago. Notice was sent out with the budget, hard copy and email for those who signed up for electronic voting. So now we need a motion to approve the 2024 budget.
So moved.
Second?
Do we ask questions?
Yeah.
Yes, we have to make the
Right
motion
next.
first.
Yep.
We have to make the motion first. Once the board has their time for discussion, then they will be opened up to the membership. Just give us a moment. Who made the motion?
I did.
Pat did.
Okay,
I would second that.
thank you. Does the board have anything for discussion?
Now questions. So if you have a question, step up to the microphone or online, type your question. We've got people.
So we're going to ask if anybody has a question in the audience, we're going to ask you to please line up at the microphone here and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, okay? But please no talking unless you're at the microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, hi.
You have to talk into the microphone.
Tilt it down. It's too high. Or take it off. Hold it. There you go.
Hi. Listen, I was looking at you presented.
Sure.
Talk into the microphone.
I'm looking at the budget.
Yeah, there you go.
I just really want to know, on this flow chart, organizational flow chart, could you please let us know how many staff,
In the
Hello,
microphone.
we can't hear anything online.
how many staff people from First Residential work in the plaza, work in the golf course, and work in the pro shop? And how many chefs, how many, can we get that information?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, there's roughly 68, 69
Can we get
employees
something in writing?
in total.
You know, who was working where?
Okay,
Does
so,
that make sense?
no, I understand your question. I guess the question is, or my question back would be, what is that information gonna be used for, thought about, discussed?
Well, we'd like to know how many people are employed that we're paying for at First Service. Just, you put a flow chart together, and I thought that has no detail.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Can we get that, is all I want to know.
yeah, we can provide that.
Okay, you'll take care of that?
Somebody will take care of that, probably Stephanie.
When will you take care of it?
In the next couple of days.
Okay, will it be via an email to the community?
If it can be, yes.
Okay, you take care of it. And Alan, I just had one other question.
Sure.
We had the September financials.
Yep.
I guess I don't understand why there is no salary associated with the plaza,
So,
with the golf course, and with the pro shop. So we can get an accurate picture. What are the true costs to run the plaza? What are the true costs to run the golf course? Like, it's all over the place. Why aren't salaries associated with each one of these revenue producers?
they are,
But I don't see them in the
so I can show them to you in financial. So, but the plaza,
financial.
so the plaza is just the amenities of the plaza and the North Pool. So it's the pools, it's the gym, it's pickleball court, bocce court, outdoor. So there's no salaries that we allocate to just the amenity side of it.
But how do you get a true cost if they're making money or not?
Well, so the amenities aren't, in other words, we don't charge for the pool, we don't charge for the pickleball courts, we don't charge for the gym.
Well, we're paying every month for it.
Yeah, so there's an overall owner's assessment.
And you know
Right.
something? Yeah.
So let me finish. So that's the plaza tier that you see in the financials. The food and beverage tier obviously has salaries, both, at the plaza restaurant and the golf grill. The administration tier has the salaries of the people who work in the sort of the front office, I'll say.
Can we get this in writing? I mean, I know you took,
But I understand, get this in writing, it's in the financials. that we're-
it's not, okay, go ahead.
That's a rough draft of the financials.
No,
That was given at the town hall
Financials.
No,
Yeah,
let me
that's
just
the-
see the September financial.
in September.
So it's all
You
there.
can look at it.
And I also would really like to know, how'd you come up with the?
Karen, you got to talk into the
Karen.
I'd
microphone.
like to know also how you come up with the assessment value,
Oh, so the assessment value at the top is just to
Wait,
break
wait.
even at the bottom.
but not at the, but at the plaza, right? If you take a look, how do you come, what was the plaza? Oh, golf course. How do you come out with 32,000 if it's $75 a month?
You know,
times
so
937 people?
the plaza is the amenities, nothing to do with beverage, Karen. Plaza is,
But how do you get the 32,000 for owner assessment? Where did
so
that come from?
you multiply that by 12, that equals the full year budget for.
Guys, can you please have quiet in the audience? Karen, I'm going to say we have surpassed your 3 minutes, so I'm going to let
Okay.
Alan finish his
Yeah, so we can,
response.
but when you're seeing the plaza, that's not anything to do with food and beverage. That's just the amenities, and that amount is just,
Where do you see the $75 that people pay every month?
that's in the food and beverage section. So we'll come back, and we'll set.
Okay,
Right.
okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
We have another question on the floor?
Yes.
You stole my first question, but anyway, that's a good point. In the orientation, so I think it would be helpful for us to understand, like, how
Into the
many-
microphone, please.
how many people fall into these categories? You know, for example, assistant golf coach, how many assistant golf coaches have things like that?
2.
I think it's, yeah, that's fine, you're answering it now, but it would be helpful for everybody. But I guess my question is, in terms of the numbers, right? You know, I'm just looking at something like tops out, right? $30,000 on propane, right? We spent months waiting for propane for 5 heat lamps outside, and in Florida, it probably gets cold here, but I'm just, is there anyone looking at the overall budget to see where the excess spending is happening? Maybe it needs new contracts and things of that nature to sort of put in the effort towards maybe 1 year getting to a point where we don't increase the HOA and we don't have that surplus or.
So the propane that you're referring to, actually, the 30,000 is basically the cooking fuel. So there's actually it's either 1,000 or 500 gallon
Yeah, we
tank.
have a 1,000 gallon tank here at the
Here.
plaza and a 500 gallon tank at the golf grill.
And that runs everything back here, right? The fryers and all the pizza oven, et cetera. So that's effectively what you're seeing there. More recently, yes, we're going to have the propane cylinders that are running the heaters like we had last summer. But yeah, there are contracts. We do look at them, when they come up for renewal. Generally, most contracts, not everyone, are, we usually get, negotiate out 2 to 3 years, and there's often a percentage increase. Now, propane is not like that in the sense that it's purely based on how much you use and what the price of propane is at a given point in time. They're different than gas, so it goes up and goes down. But yeah, we do look at that. We look at, for instance, the pizza oven gets shut off, even though some would recommend just leaving it on, but it gets shut off at night and turned back on, but it has to get up to, we get 500 degrees or some ridiculous amount. So as soon as somebody comes in, they flip it on in the morning. But that's where the, propane, but we look at all those contracts and we negotiate, we go out for RFPs. So yeah, so all those processes are in place.
And my second question was, are we making any efforts towards the overall budgets to have a future plan to perhaps stabilize the HOA at some point? Or are we just assuming that we're gonna just keep increasing it every year?
No, certainly, we're only less than 2 years away from developer owner, kind of developer turnover and their ownership of the board. So we're still dealing with some of that cleanup. Yeah, in an ideal world, I would love to think that as we go forward, we're looking at inflationary increases. But for example, just something this year, the CDD deeded over, 11 tracts of land that, we didn't have any say in. Now it's inside the country club. It's all the little monuments, it's the cul-de-sacs, et cetera. But over a sudden, that comes to us, the property taxes associated with that come to us, the landscaping associated with that comes to us. That was something that we had no idea was kind of out there. So hopefully we got a lot of those issues behind us. So yes, I would like to think in the next year after that, barring any major unforeseen items that we're not that come out, either a repair item or something unusual that's not covered in the defects or under the reserves. Yeah, I would think we get to a stable, kind of inflationary increase. And I also think if you look at it historically, Lennar didn't have very many increases, and then over a sudden it went up. But probably if you track it across time with inflation, we're probably not that far off. But there's still stuff that is popping out of the woodwork that we need to address and fix. And then do one last comment, because we might talk about it at some point. But things like the gym equipment, like again, we didn't pay for that initially. That all came as part of what Lennar gave to us. At some point, we need a new treadmill, right? Or we need something. So those are kind of costs that we have to make sure we build into future budgets so that when things do stop working or need to be replaced, we've got those monies. Thanks.
Do you mind, ma'am, if we do an online question quickly? Sure. So we do have a question online. It says, the current contract with First Service Residential was negotiated by the previous board of directors. The budget for 2024 includes $3.6 million for salaries and benefits, plus $1.5 million for admin expenses, which is 50% of the entire budget. The golf course and the Plaza restaurant are not profitable or breaking even. Is First Service Residential complying with the financial, operational, and managerial requirements of the contract with the Homeowners Association?
So from my perspective, yes. We had some issues early on with the financials not arriving by the end of the month, but those tend to now come timely. And again, that's sort of a self-correcting defect. If they come on the 1st or the 2nd, by the time we notify them, to get it the next month. But they certainly take their guidance / direction from the board. We're trying to be hopefully less involved day to day, but again, trying to clean up a lot of historical issues and challenges. So I don't know if the other board members have any other views than that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, So most of us are here because we saw a deficit in the budget. So Mark, are there plans? How are we going to make that up? What is the impact that you know of at this point?
Are we talking about the deficit this year, or because next year it doesn't show a deficit?
Okay, but it is deficit this year, we're making it up how? So there isn't one next year?
So right now, through September, we got a net loss of, I think, $60,000. Golf is obviously off their revenue targets. We've got some other areas, salaries as an example, that's helping to offset that because we had some open positions that we've not filled. So based on my projections, I think we'll probably end up somewhere in that same loss for the year, 60,000. So yeah, in theory, since we're a zero-sum game, we need to look at 2024 as we look at this budget and see where we sort of make that up. Now, hopefully we drive additional revenue, or we do have some special project funding, et cetera, that could possibly cover that.
Okay, so that's a great lead into additional income.
So really, we've got the primary place is going to be golf, right? That's where we get, have our biggest levers to gain additional revenue. So that's what we're looking at. The golf committee is working on that. Pat, who's the board liaison, is looking at how we drive additional golf revenue. So our budget, we actually reduced the revenue from last year by 86,000. So again, hopefully there's upside, but again, uncertain depending on a whole bunch of factors.
So since I'm not the best person to address all the questions, although I have a lot,
Okay.
I'll let other people talk and then I
Sure.
make sure Jen.
Okay.
We're going to move to an online question quickly before we get to you, sir. The next question is it possible to allow the $75 to use a golf grill as well instead, or just plaza?
It was initially set up for the plaza, and our existing POS system, they couldn't talk to each other, so it was only at the plaza. From my understanding from the POS people who are implementing it, that it may be available 6 months down the road. So they're going to work on that. Right now, they're going to mainly focus on the plaza and try to get the golf grill added in 6 months, give or take.
Next, sir.
You said you're going to drive revenue from the golf. I just specifically want to talk about the decision you guys made, by eliminating, annual pass holders, or, increasing the price to double the amount. You already, based on the discussion we had to the number of them, I'm homeowner. So you are losing close to $350,000 in revenue. You are also going to lose, on the trail, the trail fee, for the carts. People are going into single rather than double because, when they were paying little, so they paid it, so it's kind of more convenient. So you're going to lose, money in that particular area. I own a golf course in Canada, and I know how, what it takes to run a golf course. And the decision that was made by you guys or whoever that made it, it was a wrong decision, and I think you guys need to revisit that decision to let your annual pass holders. Either you're going to be public or you're going to be private. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I need an answer.
You didn't ask the question.
I did, that's the question. How are you going to increase, are you going to reverse the decision that was made for annual pass holders so you can get the revenue? Or you tell us how you're going to increase the revenue, that you already had before from, that you are running in deficit. I just want to know how you're going to do that. Why did you guys allow that?
I'll take it, no problem. So I personally, I don't look at this as we've lost this revenue stream, that revenue stream. What we did.
You did lose revenue stream because if you.
Sorry, Brian.
Hold on.
No,
hold on.
you hold on.
No, you're not gonna hold on because
We're running.
I am here to ask the question because I am, we are talking to the people every day. So how many people you lost from that, you know, how can you say you don't look at the revenue stream?
If you want me to answer, I will, but don't interrupt me.
Okay.
So we looked at the annual pass holders and the golf committee did all the work. They did a bunch of comparisons to clubs around here. We are nowhere near out of line on anything that we're implementing this year. We've run at a deficit for past years. We're taking the steps to try to change that moving forward. Now, you got the annual pass holders are now have a trail fee included with that. So they're really only going up a couple $1,000 when you include that trail fee. As far as that's the annual pass holders. Again, we did plenty of comparisons. We're nowhere near out of line to comparable clubs around this area. When we have a deficit, we have to make changes. And now we're making changes and now we're getting pushback. So do we want to be in the same spot next year at this time that we're sitting right now and having the questions of what are we going to do about the deficit? That's what we're doing. We're making decisions, educated decisions to move forward in a healthier way.
Okay, with all due respect, you know, what you are trying to fix that deficit, you are going to increase the deficit coming in 2024. We will be here year from now, and we will remind you of that.
Well, that's fine, but
Thank you, sir.
Hello? If you don't know me, I'm CAC. I've got some revenue questions if you guys don't mind. One is $700,000 of income from green fees. How much do we have this year?
So,
Somebody must know.
well, when you say this year, year to date, so we're just shy of 575, I believe, in greens fees. Again, it depends on how because there's not a pristine split between greens fees and park fees sometimes.
I don't think it's that much.
Let me go look before I.
Please get us a good number.
Ask your next
Do
question.
you have
Go on.
another question, sir?
Well, I want to know how we're going to get there. The second question is, how much of this new pass holders, $365,000 of revenue have we recognized so far?
There's 4 singles, 1 family.
4 singles and 1 family.
How many last year?
So we're considerably short of the $365,000 so far.
doesn't start until January 1st.
It's got nothing to do with January.
Yes, it does. Because, yes, it does. We're setting it up to be able to.
Well, that's great.
Let me finish. Yes, I am. I'm going to finish.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Guys, if we're not going to be, I know, but everyone needs to be
You want me to
considerate here.
answer your question? I will. If not,
Right.
I'm not gonna-
We're going to stop interrupting each other.
Well, I wait for a response.
So let him finish without interrupting,
Well,
please.
that's not the response.
Okay,
I don't have a response yet on how much we booked this
Okay,
year on green
okay,
fees.
please let him speak. Pat, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the annual pass holders are set up now to where we're not looking to just get a cash grab up front in November, December. So we're going to leave them open January, February, March, moving on. So if we get if we get the 50 members total, 30 and 10 families, before the end of 2024, we're whole.
No, you're not.
Okay,
And I'd be happy to revisit this with you in March when you know where it is.
whatever. No, it's not. It's just going to change. Your renewal date will be March 15th of 25 if you sign up on March 15th of 24. That's the way almost every club does it.
We're still not going to have that much revenue.
Next question.
Wait, we're still gonna have-
Well, he's working on it. He's working on it.
363,000.
So we're going to go
On a
on
budget of-
700,000 next year. Is that realistic? I mean, if our revenue forecast is bad, the budget's bad. And you already said we don't have that much flexibility on the cost side. So we've got to get the revenue right. That's, yeah, I'm done. We all know how I feel about the trail. I want to ask you, do you not think it's a conflict of interest that the board that all plays golf 5, 6 days, even votes on the trail fees?
It says it is.
A conflict of interest. So you better be careful.
Okay, is that all you have, sir?
That's all. Is there a response?
No, I didn't know that it was against the law for me to play golf in my own
No, you can
community.
pick up, but you're not supposed to vote. This is a conflict of interest, especially when you're all involved in the trail.
Not involved in it.
Benefits you.
Thank you, sir.
Benefits to everybody that buys it.
We're gonna take an online question quickly. Thank you. Is it the board's intent to privatize the golf course at an expense to the residents? Is it the board's intent to privatize the golf course at an expense to the residents?
No, it is not.
He's the president. Go ahead, sir.
Thanks for taking my question. First of all, I think it was a vote or a recommendation or motion last time about just increasing trail fees 5%. And that would have given you, I don't know, 20, 30,000 additional just to go 5%. Why was that shut down, or was it just not past the age?
That was my, I brought it up because the figures that I was given by going to, there was figures that I was given changing to singles was approximately another $40,000. And with a deficit we had, and that was basically my decision. I did it. I'm responsible for that. And if I made a mistake, I made a mistake.
Okay, so just like a lot of us here own businesses, we understand budgeting very well. And we understand we do a forecast, and you got a forecast of $700,000 in trail fees, which the current year is not getting to that number. So what happens next year if for some reason with all the ideas of trail fees, with all the ideas of public play, maybe moving the games around to get more public play, if we don't hit that number when we sit here next year, we have to absorb that day again?
Actually, kind of the misnomer on trail fees is that you would be better off financially if we did not have trail fees, and that every cart, every time you go out and play, you pay for a cart. So basically, that will bring in more revenue.
Okay.
So
So
I wasn't,
So we need more revenue, so that would be a good idea, that we could get more revenue. I'm not critiquing, I understand the
Right.
costs, et cetera, but I understand also that when I have a shortfall in my projection, I gotta make it up somewhere. People still gotta get paid, the golf course gotta run. So if we don't hit that budget next year when we stand here, is that shortfall gonna have to be made by us, by another special assessment?
well,
Because that could be a large number.
you haven't
based
had
on
a,
this year's results.
as far as I know, there hasn't been a special assessment.
Okay.
But this budget is for 24. So until we get to 24, we don't know how many we sold. I mean, yeah, we're short right now, but in the past, we've given a $100 gift card or a $200 gift card for signing up early. We haven't done that. So basically, we're not going to know where we're at until closer to the end of the year.
Last thing, I'll just make a statement. Whatever the golf committee does and you guys in the next, just ensure that we cannot stand here next year having a massive shortfall, because that would be, the credibility goes out the window.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Online question, what are you doing about security? My wife almost got hit by someone coming into the exit gate at West Side this morning at 6 a.m. and vandalism on Deuce Circle was last night.
Basically, that's part of the master as far as out there. I mean, we have no control over that.
Is the trail fee per cart or per person?
It's per person.
Per person. And why is the Plaza Restaurant not profitable?
They group together with golf course.
Well, food and beverage overall is presented as a total, correct?
So we can't divide up which one is being more profitable than the other one.
Oh, no,
The plaza versus the golf course, or are we subsidizing the golf course?
subsidizing
We're making here.
both. So both lose money
They're
currently,
both losing money.
correct?
Yes.
Yep,
The plaza and the golf course, even individually,
the golf grill,
are
correct,
golf grill are both losing money.
correct.
Okay, do you have any plans for that?
So the plans there for the golf grill are to obviously look at the price point for external folks, right? So in other words, non-members, and the members get a 20% discount. Other than that, it's volume, right? Because public play is down, so grill is down.
Well, that leads into my question. My question is, we have 4 men's leagues. 2 of them technically are associated with the pro shop, and the other 2 are just men's groups. But yet the men's groups get blocked out tee time that nobody else can get. How about if we eliminate and use that tee times, prime time, I'm sure residents would love to be able to play prime time that they can't get because the men's leagues, technically all 4 of them, nobody else can get prime time. Also, maybe take some of that prime time and sell it.
Yeah.
I would like to know, there was an incident a couple weeks back on Friday, the men's league got pushed back to noon. Okay, we didn't have men's league until noon. How much money did we make for those tee times, an outing or just public tee times? How much money did we make by not having the men's league from 8:30 on? And the men's league actually started at noon. How much money did we make that day?
I can't answer that.
I don't have
I'm not
that.
a day-to-day manager.
It's actually the first I've
Well,
heard
what
of
I'm
it.
trying
We
to
can
say-
find out.
What I'm trying to say is, that's one day. If that one day revenue can be repeated week after week after week, I think that would help the budget.
Well, one thing we did do going forward is Thursdays,
It's one day. That's not enough.
well, you're just talking about one day there.
Well, Thursday and then Friday.
Well, you got to market, that's why it's not.
But thank you.
Thank you.
This is the last flight. It's been a half hour.
People online are not able to hear the questions from.
On the
Yep,
microphone.
so we need you to please speak up into the microphone. And maybe we can repeat the question.
Okay, so just a few things. Just to recap, you mentioned, Alan, that the only way really to generate revenue in this community is through the golf course, correct?
Well, the golf is the primary lever, food and beverage is the secondary.
We all know that, there's not enough volume. So the number you were looking for, we have in the budget 700 for 2024. This year to date, on the financial statement on the website, it's 328 as of the end of September. So we're going to fall probably short of next year's budget. We're going to be probably 300,000 short because we've only got 3 months to go. October's not a great month. That's my prediction. Next thing is, we got rid of about 88 pass holders and we dropped the number down to 50, 30 singles, 10 couples. When we did that, we didn't generate any revenue. All we did was got rid of morning tee times. That's it. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Budget stayed the same, never changed. The next thing we did was we did trail fees. In the Kemper report, which you guys are aware of, right? Mark, you've read the Kemper report?
It was given. Yeah,
So anyway, in that report, the trail fees are running about $1,000 less than what similar courses do. And what did the board do? It dropped single fees $500, and that was 73 people. It raised 150 with $0 for the budget, where we could have made 20. So the thing is, we have other little issues too, which I emailed our golf committee chair, that tee times are supposed to be released if they're not booked by members 5 days in advance. So I went on last night and I emailed the golf committee 4 weeks ago, I think, Darren, about this. 4 weeks ago, I looked on last night. We had 20 tee times Monday morning, about 20 on Tuesday, all available. Couldn't book as public. So these are lost revenues that you guys are just blowing away, and you're not doing anything about it. That guy. So anyway, I think you need to relook your public play policies and start making some revenue to offset these HOA fees. Because where you're headed right now, I can see at least 500,000 short because of the pass holder decision, because of public play decisions, and because of trail fees. And if you don't do something about it, these people are going to have to pay a special assessment at about April, I would say. Would you agree, Alan? If we don't have the cash?
If we are cash strapped,
You're cash strapped. Where do you get all your cash from, Alan?
our assessments or revenue.
Gold, right? And if we lose 500,000 there, we're going to bill all these people in that room for that loss of revenue.
All right, that is 3 minutes. Thank you. You go ahead.
This one might take just 2-3 minutes. Mr. Chairman. Okay, again, my name is Chandra Kiran.
If you could speak a little louder, sir, into the microphone.
My name is Chandra Kiran. I'm kind of new to this, so bear with me. Just 2 points. One, in this kind of forum, it almost seems like us versus them. And I just wanted to say that I bear your pain, the volunteers on the board. And we are all, I think, together trying to make things better. Please, you are part of the group, and we appreciate your volunteer work. That's the main point. Second thing is that at least I find it a little complicated to understand where the assessments are being spent. I know you've done a detailed budget, but it would be helpful if somebody was to break down the assessments. The assessment may be almost $600 in my case. And where does it go? If I may request that whosoever can do it, maybe break it down. This is how the assessment is being spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello. Everybody loves Kevin Costner, right? In the Philippines. If you feel the bill comes. So I've heard some answers, comments about how we're gonna make up the money. Alan used the word hopefully. I used the word, we're looking at different streams, and the hair in the back of my hair just stand up. At last golf committee meeting, the Kemper Sport report came up. I couldn't be shared and all that, but it doesn't matter. But it was discussed at that meeting that there were recommendations. There were recommendations made in that report, among other things, increase revenue by getting outside play. And the question was made, why hasn't that been implemented? And the ball was passed on to FSR. FSR didn't want to do it or didn't do it or hasn't done it or whatever. So the question to the board is, why hasn't the board of the golf club implemented these recommendations that would help us bring more revenue and avoid the situation where we might get an assessment answer?
Well, I know that the big problem has been the tee sheet at the golf shop. We're in a contract with Golf Now, and they control our website. They control the tee sheet. We have, through Darren going down there every day for the last, how long, Darren? Probably 6 weeks or longer, to try to put that where we can get those times released. And we're getting there. But we don't hold the rights to those things through the current contract. We just,
A lot of money
So
on that.
let me understand, we are beholden to somebody, a third party, and we are not allowed to sell those tee times for public play?
no, we are allowed to sell them for public play, but just getting them out there for the public to see. That's been the problem.
IT issue.
It's basically, we have a contract with them that they supply us our POS system. In return, we give them tee times and they control the tee sheet. We've got a new POS system coming in January, and we're gonna try to take care of those problems. And that's all I know about it.
And contracts are made to be broken for lack of performance. And their problem is causing us money out of our pocket. And also, what other action could you be taking, despite of the fact of this Golf Now thing, to promote our golf course? And I think our phones work, our emails work. Call us, make tee times, make other great arrangements. What actions has the board of the golf course taken to increase public play? Because one of the telling things about that nothing's been happening and there's a willingness is that we still only have Thursdays open for public play. Would you say that you want to do it every day?
Public play is open every day.
So that's not what I'm hearing.
Okay, that is 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Do you mind if we take some online quickly? Did the board ever study or poll the privatization of the golf course?
No, all among owners and members?
Yes,
No.
no, we did not.
Not to my knowledge.
Can you raise revenue by advertising on the golf carts?
It's being,
It is in
it's
work.
being worked on now.
May I suggest to hold a town hall in conjunction with the Master Association? I think that would be beneficial as a whole. Wouldn't it be beneficial to hire an outside agency to manage golf? We need to get a hold of this situation before our HOA goes up. If the board isn't interested in security and put pressure on then put pressure on the Master Association. Sorry, it's so small, and I'm right here. If the board isn't interested in security and put pressure on the Master Association, we have the wrong board. Can a task force compromise of X or current management consultants from amongst our residents be tasked with generating revenue and tightening our fiscal management? That's it. That's all we got. Go ahead.
Hi. First off, I want to say thank you to the board. I know it's a tough job. Thank you to the golf committee. Me and my husband have been attending the golf committee meetings. We recently moved here, and so we've kind of seen where there really wasn't a lot of advertising, a lot of information out there about golf. That was one of our questions. And so I know if you've attended the golf committee meetings, they are working very hard
I feel like sometimes people might forget that with the turnover from the builders come in and have a community that they can sell houses, and their HOAs are going to be run as cheap as possible to make it look as good as it can. And when you turn it over, there's always going to be situations. And I think everybody's working towards that, and I appreciate that. One of the concerns I had about golf, and I think a lot of people are here, are not necessarily golfers. So they're like, why can't we get golf revenue? What we were concerned about at the golf committee was my husband and I, he's a golfer. I'm probably going to start taking it up again, but we work. And so how do you work into, satisfying the people who want to golf and work, but, maybe can go out on a Tuesday once every couple of weeks when they don't have meetings, or, then golf on the weekends. The trail fees were way out of line for somebody who could not golf every day. And so that was one of our things. So my question is, or I guess comment was, for the golf people, for the golf committee, to try to get the communication, just like we have for the plaza, that email blasts and calendars, the golf needs to be submitted to the community as well. So the community, we're all golf owners, so we can all understand what's going on. And I just think that would be helpful, but I just want to say thank you. I think the golf committee is getting a lot of flack, and they have been working really hard to make changes for next year.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I actually have two questions. The first one's for you, Mark, is that you indicated earlier you're not familiar with the Kemper report at all. You said that, or
No.
have you read it?
No,
Have you read it?
I glanced through it. But in retrospect, when it was given to us, Mark,
You've said enough, Mark. You glanced through it. This is a consulting firm that's come in.
we did not hire.
They did it for FSR. You hire FSR. FSR hired Kemper. Kemper had a report on the golf course, had all kinds of recommendations, and you've glanced through it. Thanks very much. But my real question is, can you actually articulate what our public policy is? I don't understand. I live near the golf course. I see it empty through the day. I go on the website. We are open Thursdays for public play. I listen to HOA meetings. Pat, you had a proposal that was passed by the HOA board where you were going to, this is a big thing for you. This was like, this is Pat's deal. I want to rotate the men's game or the different games through the days, get outside play, to get decent times to sell revenue from like 9 o'clock, not 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock. No one's going to play there. What happened to that, Pat? What happened? It's dead. And then I go on the website. Oh, we are open for play from 11 o'clock on Thursdays. I read that's saying all the other days we're not open. And you know what? The general feeling in this room is you want to take this course public, and you don't care. All I'm saying. It's not that you up to $1,000, you don't care because you get a public course. Please respond. Private course. You don't care. And what do you say to that?
I do care, and I'm saying that I'm not. On looking at finances and everything, no, it cannot go private.
And, okay, so we are going to have a shortfall in public play. We have a shortfall in members next year. We have a shortfall in public play. What's the strategy?
Mark, our shortfall right now is this year. We haven't started 2024, and your time is up.
I am talking.
Your time is up.
No, you tell me my time is up. What is your strategy for next year? Am I done?
I want to load the microphone because I'm a little bit short. And first of all, it's like, I've been on the other side of that table. I know how hard it is. So you don't get decisions right all the time. And I hope you realize that, but I thank you for sitting on that side of the table. I do hope that you listen to people tonight and do think about revisiting, first of all, the trail fee, okay? And secondly, revisiting the annual pass holder fee. We had 75 pass holders who, a lot of them were part of our community, did things around the golf course for us, added revenue into the golf grill, and now none of them are coming back, okay? And that's got to be something, there's got to be something wrong with that strategy. So I hope you will take a look at that, because we will end up with a $300,000 shortfall on the 1st of January if we don't, okay? And that's just a plea from me to do that. Secondly, I think, there's been talk about public play and leagues, etc. I just want to make it clear, I run one of the leagues, and we would be really happy to work with the golf committee and people to change the time of some of our Saturdays or Wednesdays, Fridays or Mondays, whatever it is, so that we can sell some of those tee times maybe once a month, whatever it might be. We get misnomer that, people don't want to do that, but that's not the case.
Also, you can keep the grill open, then, as people are saying there, we want to take some money.
Correct. And the final thing on that is that, we're what, 320,000 in public play this year. I think if you look at the tee sheet on open tee times, probably the open tee times today are being closer to $3 million worth of potential tee times. Now, some people don't want to play in the winter, in the summer, in the afternoon, but there's got to be a difference somewhere between that 330,000 and the available $2 million worth of tee times. I think, not being disrespectful, I don't think the management company really helped us in selling tee times, and I hope it's something that, can be improved going forward.
One more?
So I think what we've heard tonight is that the board and the golf committee have got 1 year to turn this around. What it amounts to is, it's been pointed out how on multiple opportunities of how the board has not taken advantage of revenue that's available. What it amounts to is, we learned tonight that our assessments are based on 3 things. They're based on expenses, paying payroll, maintaining things. It's based on revenue and some from the plaza, but mainly from the golf course. And the difference is the assessment. So as been pointed out, when there's a shortage in revenue to cover expenses, what it amounts to, it's going to be an assessment done. And we've heard tonight about how the board has had opportunity to collect $20,000 in bypass. What it amounts to is from the expense side. Some of the interesting things is that we've got managers.
Can you please speak into the microphone? Thank you.
From the expense side, what it amounts to is we've got managers' meals, $5,600 for the HOA meal. At a normal business, you would only allow $1,000 is what you would budget. What it amounts to is we've got $7,500 budgeted for the golf managers' meals. We're already at $10,400. Nobody's managing it. Nobody's going ahead, and there's no penalty for not complying. What it amounts to is, like I say, the board and the golf committee know what the solutions are. The Kemper report said that there's $1,000 that we're not collecting, we ought to be collecting. In the budget report that you sent out, it shows that Legends members are paying $4,000. What it amounts to is Mark, you and your committee at golf have done a survey. You know what other HOAs are doing. We're not doing those things. And you've got 1 year to solve it, because people aren't going to go ahead and accept these kinds of assessments that are staring us in the face right now. And so you've got 1 year, and you've got the solutions. It's just like Pat had a solution, but there's no implementation of it. So what it amounts to is you've got 1 year to go ahead and turn this around.
Otherwise, there will be a vote, and there's only 11.9% of owners that are serious golf players. So
Hello, so I'm new. My name's Tyler Lucier, for also you guys from the golf course. And my wife and I just moved here about 5 months ago. I'm not going to talk about the golf thing because I think that's kind of it's a dead horse, but it's very, everybody's kind of getting a little heated with it. My question is the contracts that we have. Contracts go off for this gentleman made to be broken if they are not going off what they're supposed to be doing. That's why they're contracts. That's why you can get out of those contracts. One of the contracts in my question is, and I didn't look at it, but what do we pay for security for the homes? The home monitoring security systems.
$9.99 per occupied home. So I think there's like 931 homes because Lennar still has a few that they're selling.
Okay. So the question on that is why do we have to pay that? Because if I remember correctly from one of the last meetings, that there's still 8 more years on this contract, correct?
Yep.
This contract.
Or more.
Or more.
More possible.
That's something that I believe that the board needs to look into and get rid of that. It may not save us a lot of money, but every little bit helps. When I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford all these high prices to continue to go up, right? We fell in love with this community when we moved here from Colorado. We've lived in HOAs forever. I've never seen anything like this with HOA fees and all that stuff. I'm kind of figuring that stuff out. But my biggest thing is I can't utilize this home security system because the people we bought our house from didn't leave any of that information. I've tried contacting the security company, and basically I just get, excuse my language, told to fuck up. So that's my question on that, is that we need to break that contract and either do another one or let us do our own home security system.
If you'd like to send me an email, I can get you in touch with the, I'll get it working for you.
Thank
Just
you.
send me an email.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Anything online or no? Good.
Was a survey conducted with the current pass holders? If so, how many of them are willing to sign up at the new price?
No.
Anybody?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was the answer to my question?
Was there a survey done
was not
before?
conducted, no. Are we going to address the plaza membership issue this meeting? Not at the budget meeting, no, that will be discussed at the regular board meeting after the special members meeting that we hold after this meeting. Most companies, when losing money, start downsizing. Is it possible to eliminate some jobs to help with the expense? And that's it. Thank you. That's it.
Okay,
All right, so let me set the vote.
do we have a motion?
We already did that. We just
Second.
need to vote.
All in favor of passing the budget?
Aye.
Aye.
Terry? Okay.
Aye.
Thanks, Terry.
Unanimous.
I can adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
So
Meeting
moved.
1? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Next is a special membership meeting.
Now we have a special member meeting. And
I can do it.
if Stephanie needs to run this meeting,
Okay, so we are going to call the special members meeting to order. It is 6:59 PM. We do have a quorum because it is a special members meeting. We need 10% of the membership. present either in person or by proxy. We do have that, so quorum has been met. Proof of notice, this was noticed in the 14-day mailing that was sent out. Everyone received it via regular postal service or via email if you signed up to receive electronic notices and vote electronically. This special members meeting was to vote on 2 items. The first item, before we do that, do we have anybody here who has not cast a vote yet for the 2 items that were sent out? Okay. Okay, so if you need to cast your vote still, we need you to please go to the front where Brittany and Gigi are and cast your vote. We need you to do that right now.
If I want to vote.
Yes.
Oh,
If you don't want to vote, then no.
If you want to.
Okay.
Do you care to vote?
He said no.
Okay, so while we get the voting results, we are going to take a quick break. So please talk amongst yourselves. 5 minutes. We will reconvene as soon as we have the results for the 2 votes in question. Thank you.
Oh, I know. Especially Oh, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we can please take our seats, we are ready to begin the meeting once again.
Okay, the first item that was voted on was vote to approve the proposed amendment to the Fifth Amendment to the amended and restated declaration for the Country Club at Champions Gate. The community voted yes, so that amendment change has passed. The second item that was voted on, it was vote to authorize the Board of Directors to proceed with legal claim, including litigation, if necessary, against Lennar Homes and any parties responsible for the construction defects identified within Country Club at Champions Gate. The community voted yes. So we are proceeding with that as well.
We're good.
Sure. For the amendment change, 136 people voted yes and 34 people voted no. And for proceeding with litigation against Lennar Homes and other parties over the construction defects in our community, 181 voted yes and 5 voted no.
By the Lennar employees.
With that being said,
Lennar employees.
can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It actually goes to the community. Thank you. Okay, that meeting is adjourned. We are going to now start with the regular first meeting. Just give me one moment. Here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to call the regular board meeting, 11/20/23, to order. We have a quorum. Proof of notice was given at
48-hour notice.
48 hours. Have a motion to approve the minute from the 10/9/23 regular board meeting. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Managers report?
Yep, thank you. Okay, so my manager's report is reporting on the month of October 2023. We're going to start with arrears and delinquencies. So as of October 31st, the association was owed $127,000. I will tell you that we have received word from our attorney that Lennar has paid their dues in full. They did just receive the check, which is just over $80,000. It is not included in this balance though, because it has not been posted yet to our account. So that should be in the next board meeting update. During the month of October, we closed on 5 homes in the community. We had 25 inquiries with our 24/7 customer care center. 6 of those inquiries were escalated to on-site management. 183 work orders were opened during the month of October. 201 work orders were closed. And to date, we have 10 work orders open. For violations, during the month of October, we issued 128 violations. 55 of those we closed 55 violations, and to date, we have 151 violations open. We had 2 architectural review committee meetings during the month of October, one on October 3rd and one on October 17th. 23 ARC applications were processed, 13 of those were approved, 5 were conditionally approved, 2 were tabled, 3 were denied, and 0 applications were withdrawn. Just to give you some updates, back in January or February of this year, Lennar Homes fixed several street signs that were blown down from a previous hurricane. They unfortunately replaced a few with the wrong names on the signs. Those have all been corrected as of this week. So those are all corrected. During the month of October, we brought in various pest control companies to just give us a new proposal. We were currently contracted, or we were contracted with Ecolab Pest Control Division. We were not satisfied with their service, so we brought in various other pest control companies to provide proposals. So you will see that on this agenda, in the consent agenda. We did have one situation during the month of October where Toho Water Authority had, the water was shut off to the buildings. So we had to close the plaza and the golf course down. Because if we can't provide restrooms, running water, we can't be open. The clubhouse was closed that day. It was on October 9th from 11 a.m. until approximately 4 p.m. When they were able to get the water back up and running. This is the second incident where that's happened in the past, I think, 3 months. But unfortunately, we're at Toho Water Authority's mercy when that does happen. We had Sherwin-Williams on site recently to color match all of our paint in all of the buildings throughout the community. So Plaza Clubhouse, the golf course restrooms, the golf course, the North Pool buildings, other various areas. We had an incident where the breakers tripped here in the Plaza restaurant. This was a 2-day occurrence, but we had JCK Electric on site as well as ITS1, and they resolved that issue. We had one situation where the lower pool heater was not working, but Symbiont came out and made that repair very quickly. And it was back up and running within the day. We have had various issues with our lower pool, just for the information of the board, as well as the community. We have included all of the defect issues with the lower pool in the 558 letter with Lennar, so that is being included. And the issues, basically the pool needs to be resurfaced, although it is so young. We've had various situations where holes pop up in the bottom of the lower pool. We've been able to get them fixed rather quickly, but obviously we are incurring that cost. So this is part of the 558 letter with Lennar. Additionally, we're having issues with the coping around the entire perimeter of the lower pool, which is causing some of the pavers to shift on the deck. So we, like I've said, it is part of the 558 letter. I know that we have a lot of concerned residents with the safety issues out on the pool deck. We are addressing those, but because it is part of the lawsuit, there is a timeline that we have to follow in order to get those repaired, but we do have a repair scheduled for all of those issues. So once we have a date, we will let the community know. We will most likely need to close the lower pool for 2 to 3 days during those repairs, but again, we will let the community know when those happen. That is all I have. Thank you.
Kathy. Next on is the consent agenda. I entertain a motion for A, B, and C on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second, and there's a D too, right? Do we add the,
Did you add?
No, that's on a unanimous consent.
oh, sorry. My bad.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
New business. Accounts to be recommended for finding $100 a day up to $1,000 to get to the December 6th Covenants Committee hearing.
Before you approve these, I would just like to note there There are several of these items that have been corrected, which are noted on the agenda there. So the ones that have been corrected or who have been granted an extension will not be going to hearing. It's just the ones that are still not corrected.
Do I have a motion to approve the ones that have not been corrected or an extension given?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This time, I'd entertain a motion to appoint the 5th board member, John Lambert.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
John, you're part of the board.
Yeah.
Okay. The ARC appeal. Number C on the agenda, ARC appeal 0086-1.
Stephanie, you want to explain so John knows, because he's obviously voting blindly.
Yes.
I can explain.
Okay.
This was an extension of the paver patio, which basically came to the ARC committee twice. It had to be turned down twice to get it back here to appeal so that we could rule on it. The ARC requirements document was rewritten for the villa patios, but this didn't get added. So basically it was easier to have it denied twice, come back here for an appeal, and then if we grant it, then it will open the door for the others too. So
just to summarize quickly, John, so the villas were originally not allowed to extend their patios. That was going to be allowed in the last architectural, the standards, and it was accidentally excluded. So the intent was to allow the villas to extend their patios, but it got left out of the standards before it was approved. So to follow the current standards, the committee denied it twice so that it could come to the board with the intent that the board would approve it so that it could be grandfathered in until we have a chance to revise the documents again.
Okay, thank you.
motion second.
That motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is golf course palm tree trimming proposal.
Bless you.
So we have a proposal from United to trim all of the palm trees on the golf course. This is not included in their contract as it is separate. We did speak to Ethan, our golf course superintendent. He is supportive of this proposal. The intent is to have it approved and have the work completed and paid for in 2024. United's proposal is just over $4,000. We did engage 2 other tree companies as well. The second company came in over $11,000 because they needed to rent equipment that was specifically for a golf course. And the third company that we asked for a bid came back and said that they were unable to fulfill the request. So United has provided the best proposal. And again, Ethan, our golf course superintendent, he is supportive of this proposal.
Motion.
Motion.
Discussion? Vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, golf committee proposal. Darren?
So there's this still on?
Yes.
What are you gonna say? All right. What would you like to do? All right, we've got three proposals. I'm gonna start with the October one, get that one out of the way first.
Darren, it's, we're on E, it's the,
Sorry, which one?
the fee for.
Okay. All right, we'll do that one then. We'll do them in order that you have there. All right, so the first motion, fee for use of their private cart when a non-trail fee homeowner uses the cart of a paid trail fee homeowner. So the recommendation is when one homeowner has a paid trail fee for $1,750, a non-trail fee homeowner may use their approved trail fee registered private cart for $29 per round while on the golf course. So they don't, the second person or whatever doesn't have to pay another trail fee. They can use that cart. If it's like somebody who's not playing very many rounds a year, they can use that cart and just pay $29 instead of paying the second trail fee for the home.
Okay.
Motion? Discussion?
Is there any discussion?
All in favor?
No, you gotta ask for the community.
I did.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Next,
Am I the next? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the next one, I'm assuming it's the unlimited use.
it's the parents, grandparents.
Right, okay, the unlimited use of the homeowner guest fee for a family. So right now in the golf policy manual, a guest can play, or somebody, you can have a guest, that guest can play 6 times a year at the guest rate. Okay, they can play it more times at the full rack rate, they can play 6 times. What the golf committee is proposing for homeowners is that parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, children, and grandchildren of homeowners may have unlimited use of the guest rate, providing that the homeowner is playing with them at the time of the use. So we would open, well, parents, if your parent, his parent. It's a different one. We did not go with in-laws. We went with parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, grandchildren, children, and grandchildren.
So they would propose it.
You can change it.
Well, no, but actually, they would be the parents of the wife or the husband, even though they're an in-law, they're the parents of one of them.
Right, I think they're talking like son-in-law
Or brother-in-law.
or brother-in-law is what they're talking. And we discussed that in committee and decided to limit it rather than expanding it. But that was the, this is how the golf committee decided to have the discussion and voted on it. This is what they want.
Darren, what was the reason for eliminating the in-law part? Son-in-law, daughter, whatever you want to call
I don't know that there was any one reason. It was just a discussion that it didn't want to expand it beyond too far, and they kept it at this amount. So that was it. We did propose it. There wasn't enough support to expand it to in-laws, and so that's the recommendation.
You guys gonna open up for discussion? Talk about that, because.
Yes, they have to, yeah.
Sure. Motion?
You have to make a motion.
So they can talk.
Second. Discussion. Yep. Other than people online can't hear you.
All right, so at that meeting, I brought up the,
Yeah, don't say, so, yeah.
I brought up the, when they were discussing, at first they talked about in-laws. And immediate family, what should be worded in this document? Immediate family does include in-laws.
Yes.
Okay. One of the gentlemen that was on the committee, when I brought it up, says that it's against Florida law. And at the time, I didn't have a chance to look it up, but I have looked it up since then. Immediate family in Florida law does include in-laws. So the wording needs to be changed to allow in.
Makes sense.
I'm fine. That's fine.
Does anybody
Just
want
include it in your motion.
the motion?
We got a remotion to
We have to
include.
re-motion to change it to include
Yeah, just amend the motion.
Yes, so whoever made the motion would say, I'd like to amend my motion.
All right, I'll amend the motion to include in-laws
Immediate family. Yep.
in the immediate family.
Okay, do you second, John?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Any other?
Aye.
Terry?
Yep, I'm good.
Unanimous.
And the situations where people are for 20 years, not married. Does that apply to them? Do they, are they common law with? Common law with?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
6 times. You 6 times anyway, right?
Yeah, 6 times anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So your crew can come, they can play 6 times, but not 7.
Do that again?
Then you want to just go with your third one?
So your guest can play 6 times.
Point that at the speaker.
No, I thought we got their couples. Who own a home here. Who are not married. So do they, are they into the common law husband and wife? And you can't play it all. I'm just asking.
I don't know.
What's that, Marilyn? What's your question?
The definition is 2 people normally cohabitating together that are not blood related. That's what you guys have. So if father and daughter are blood
That's the definition that we have in our document is 2 people that live in the same household, not related by blood. And we did get a legal opinion on that.
That's great, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next.
All right.
Josh.
So then the next is, okay, so the beautification fundraising committee or the fundraising machine committee, there I said it, Terry, so for you. Came up with a list of 33 projects. So normally when we've had fundraisers, we wanted to do something with the money at the golf club and the beautification, relative beautification. We brought each of those proposals individually to the board for approval. Since the board had previously approved us having 2 fundraisers a year, we went back and worked with Sammy Meisel, who does a lot of the improvement stuff at the golf club. The head pro, golf course superintendent, and members of the golf beautification committee, the CGMGA, and we came up with a list of 33 projects, okay? And we wanted to prioritize those projects for future beautification funds, so we don't have to bring each one of them back and forth to the board every time we want to do something. We want to plant a tree, plant a shrub, or whatever it is. So we've come up with those projects. We've sent them out to all these folks, had 14 people rank it, and came up with a ranking of those projects and submitted that to the board for approval to expend these funds on in the ranking order. And I want to point out too, that the first item on that list, we have asterisks beside it. And the first item on there is relative to shading, permanent shading at the golf club. I mean, for the outside, right now there's a tent there, right? And that tent is showing a lot of wear and tear. There's poles, cement, on the ground. And we'd like to put something permanent up there. We have proposals for that. I know the CGMGA has gotten a proposal. We've received a proposal, but we believe that is probably a capital improvement as opposed to forced beautification. And so we'd like, as part of that, even though it's on here, we'd like as the board to consider having capital funds expended for that project. I'm assuming we work with the facilities committee, submit bids and so forth, and then have the board consider using that capital funding money, reserve money for 2024 to pay for that. And then we would work on paying for all the rest of the projects on here through beautification funds. But it's more to prove the list, the beautification listing is what the recommendation is. You've all received the list, right? And the ranking and so forth. So you have all the projects and read through them. So that's the request.
Okay, what she said. We have a motion to approve.
The project for the shading, depending on the budgets, the ones we've got, I think, Peter, I think yours is close to 50,000, but that's not including installation. And the one that we have is fully installed. It's the sunshade that would go around there on cantilever supports, and it would remove all of the posts that you currently have out there right now. It would go around both sides of that area, and it would be about $63,000.
Darren, before we can discuss, we need to make a motion and second, and then I'll put it up for discussion.
Okay, sorry. Yep.
We have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Now we can discuss.
Now more questions. Anybody else?
If you're going to ask a question, please come up to the microphone.
So Darren, I'll just start with a couple. Depending on, obviously, there's no dollars associated with each of these, right? There's obviously the ranking, but so if item 2, lower drains, blah, 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 costs 13,000 and item 3 costs 2,000, and you guys raise 2,500, could you see going to, like, not necessarily going in priority, but picking and choosing? Obviously, you're not going to pick item 13 that costs 2,000 as well. You're going to pick the ones that's higher than that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yes, we would. And some of these things, you can see that they would, they kind of come to fall together. It's a possibility that right, there could be something for, have a room for 2 bougainvillea trees over here or something. We have enough left. So let's just throw, we've got the money for that. Let's do that one now. So there is a possibility that maybe we end up doing like projects 4, 5, and 8 together or something like that. So there, we would want to have some flexibility and not do them in possibly an exact order, but I wanted to give a priority ranking so that at least you would have an understanding kind of where the priorities would lie in terms of how they would be completed. But it is possible that a project number 20 could end up moving up as project number 7, for example, because they kind of go together, or it would make sense to do them at the same time.
Right. And just on the approval, would you still come to the board for each of these, even though we prioritize them, to say, here's the financial side of it. We're raising 15,000, it's going to cost 14,000, so we're good on the, or is this looking to basically just give you blanket approval that as long as you're underneath, or below what you're raising, you want?
We would get estimates for each one, and we would submit those, of course.
Okay.
And then we would work probably with you, right, to show that we do have enough money for this project and do it that way. We wouldn't want to have to come back to the board and say we want to spend 10,000 of our 25,000 on this. We know how much we got. We can't write out any checks, right?
No, that's exactly right. That's
It
what I'm
all
saying.
has
We
to
need to
come
have.
through you.
Yep.
So we would come forward with what the cost estimates are and then submit that, and then you would have to approve those expenditures.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and then just last one on the first one, the shading thing. Great idea, love it, but I think we need to, as we've heard today, look at what 2023 ends at and what 2024 looks at before we sort of allocate $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to.
Understood. And for that reason, we may, depending on how things go, we may move forward with a couple of others first, and then come back to that one, depending on how things start to fall out towards the beginning of 2024. So it's a possibility that while that's number 1 on the priority list, it may not be, we may not wait to raise all that money before we move forward with anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
So again, I was sitting back there and probably didn't hear, but we just spent probably an hour and a half talking about the budget, right? Now we're short in funding. So how are all these projects being paid for? Is it fundraisers or a portion of it fundraising?
Yeah, all of this money comes from fundraisers through the people here in this room, in this community. We hold a golf event, and it's all private money. None of the money ever spent on any of these beautification projects ever comes out of HOASF dues.
So with that said, right, is although the funding for a shaded area will not come, we have to cover that in insurance, right? So if you're expanding something or you're adding something to the community, so let's say you add 100 palm trees, hurricane comes, knocks those 100 down, right? We have to, as an HOA, have to cover it, put them back, right? Or if the structure falls down, we have to add that to our insurance, is that right? So it really is, we're paying for some of it, right?
I would assume, yes, the insurance, I mean, it's all, everything is going to be covered by insurance. That's something that that would be approved by the board. I mean, once it's in, yes, it's all subject to potentially, an insurance claim, absolutely.
But if you look at it on the other side of it, right now, we're having to turn away not big outings, but even medium-sized golf outings, fundraisers. So if we had shade where we could put these people, when it's 100 degrees, they might sign to spend 20 grand with us on a Monday. We're talking about trying to make more money here. So sometimes you gotta spend money to make money too. So if we can get some of it from the beautification, some of it from the, and capitalize some of it, that might be something to look at too. Yeah, you're gonna have a little more cost, but you're also gonna have opportunity for more revenue.
Yeah, understood. I just wanted to bring the point because of the fact that,
No, I get it.
like you said, right? We have a deficit. Every year we have a deficit. You guys are looking for a plan to see how we can sort of flatten that out at some point in the future, 5-10-year plan. But if we continuously keep adding, like you said, you got to spend, understood. I just want everybody to understand that at the end of the day, a fundraiser, you build something, you got to insure it. And we all know the insurance rates in Florida are skyrocketing. So it's just going to get worse.
Thank you.
Nothing controversial. Alan, maybe you could explain the difference between operating and capital, how much we pay out of our HOA for capital and what that encompasses. And anything over and above the engineering study that we're paying for has to come from somewhere. If you could expand on that, that'd be great.
Sure. So we did a little of this last year and we've got some in this year. So we have money set aside for, I'll just call capital projects or things that need to be spent in the community. Now, my view of it is we don't spend that anytime in the near future. We look at how things are shaking out. But for truly capitalized type things, assets, we put them on the balance sheet and we depreciate them over their useful life. So in the current budget, I think we have about 130,000 of sort of special or capital projects. And that's about, a little bit more than prior year. But again, I wouldn't be looking to spend that in the short term. I'd be looking to, how does 2024 start to shake out as it relates to those kind of items, those kind of spend? Well, sorry, is it capital or reserves?
Reserves. Yeah.
Reserves, sorry, different, sorry, I use different terminology, sorry. So the reserves right now is $45 a month per homeowner, separate from the villa reserves. They've got their own reserve in addition to the 45. So it's $45 roughly, about $500,000 across the 937 units. We'll end this year, assuming we don't have to draw on the reserves for anything, around 510,000 with interest. So after next year, we should be roughly about $1 million. And we don't have any significant spend based on the original engineering study to like 2030, that ballpark. We got painting, we've got, some sidewalk repairs, things like normal sort of stuff that comes up that are in the reserve funds. But as you did hear Stephanie mention, if our pool hull needs to be redone, that's a $100,000 project right there. Now, hopefully that's in the defect study, we'd get money back, but depending on how long that drags out, we may not be able to wait that long, so we have to pay some of that money so that we might need to use some of that $1 million by the end of next year for something along those lines. But it's good that we actually have reserves built up some level, which a year ago we had none.
Great, thank you. My name is Bob, homeowner. I love the idea of beautification because I want to play at a beautiful golf course. More public people want to play at a beautiful golf course. The more volume we get on the golf course, the more we sell at the clubhouse, the more money we make. Awesome idea of beautification. and making it, for events, right? Period. I think the key to that success is going to be communication to the entire community, not to the golfers. Every homeowner owns this golf course. Do you want a public golf course or do you want a private golf course? And if you can make it more beautiful, then we can get more public in. If we want to sell those, or we can increase the 60% of people who don't play. Those are the easiest ones in my mind. So communicate to the entire community about these fundraising projects, and I think it'll be successful.
Sorry, I have to follow up on the capital thing. Stephanie, you mentioned earlier that the pool had to be redone. And can you let us know how much the estimate's going to be?
So in the estimate, we quoted repairs to this pool deck here at the plaza, as well as the north pool and the north pool coping as well with those issues. So both areas, just over 7,000.
Just 7,000?
Yeah.
It's for the deck.
I'm sorry? It's for the deck.
Not the whole, just around the
Correct.
pool.
It's to fix the coping and the papers, not the hull of the pool.
Hi, my name is not Bob.
I know.
Mark and board members, and following Darren, I think you guys do a great job. It's just a lot of work. My recommendation on some of the suggestions that Darren is bringing up about expenses, like making capital improvements, like the shading.
Oh, the shading.
And I think that any of those capital improvement, I think as a practice, we should have attached to it a projection of what benefit do we get out of that. Like Pat just said, we should really show to our homeowners, hey, it's not just expenditure, but if we do that, put a number. We project that we can do this events and we can get this much money more, blah, 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 blah. Because then it looks very tactical when you don't put it that way, and that goes back to the question previously that I made about the actions, recommendations to bring more revenue out of the Kemper Sports thing, because we need to think strategically. What is the strategy to bring the revenue? And every one of those suggestions, what is that going to bring to us? I go back and I want to reiterate, we cannot just wish. There's no wishful thinking line item on a P&L or in a budget. We need to really think strategically. We need to really have an action plan. And we have numbers attached to it so that people can digest it better, right? People see numbers speak for themselves. Otherwise, a lot of people here retire or have businesses. We need to put a number to it. And Darren, I think he's doing a great thing. Put a number to it and think bigger. Maybe it's not a shade, what do you call it?
The shades, the audience, the shading the audience.
But maybe, we want to think bigger. Maybe it's just another structure we want to have that. Maybe we want to have lockers. Maybe we want to have, a deck, overlooking the golf course, and that will attract more people for events. Think bigger, put a proposal so that people can digest it. Maybe it's not feasible, maybe not, but let's think big and put the number out to it, because every expense has to have a revenue attached. Thank you.
Any online?
Not about that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Do we want to go over comments online before we move on?
Want to go what?
We want
If there's relevant comments, yeah.
Yep. So we're going to just read some comments online that have come in before we move on to the next agenda item. I do have a question as to how much we are spending on the litigation against Lennar, and how are we assessing whether we should proceed or not on an ongoing basis.
I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. how much are we spending on the litigation against Lennar? And how are we assessing whether we should proceed or not on an ongoing basis?
Litigation is on a contingency basis. So we pay nothing up front, and we pay nothing if we lose. It's all on, basically on the attorneys that we hired to win. And then they get a percentage based on how much we win.
So somebody else also asked, is there a budget for the Lennar litigation? And is there a cap on expenditures?
There is no upfront expenditures.
Did you receive a proposal from Sammy for the palm tree trimming on the golf course? How much is the proposal that was approved? And is it in the new budget? No, Sammy was not asked to propose on this item. And the approved proposal is just over $4,000. And yes, it is built into the 2024 budget. Going back, I think, to the second proposal from golf, can it be just limit family members instead of parents, in-laws, et cetera, since a parent's passed? Can it be just limit family members? Sorry, I don't know what they're asking.
Unlimited family members, maybe?
Maybe unlimited. Yeah, can it just be unlimited family members, maybe?
Yep.
And who is paying for the cost to maintain the golf course landscaping? Is it future fundraisers? Yeah.
Everything is approved by, every project is approved by Ethan, that he can take care of it, or it's within his budget.
And when will the sidewalks that are not ADA compliant be repaired? Residents are walking on the streets and wheelchairs are on the streets.
It's all part of the 558 filing, so that's on the courts, how long it's going to take.
Does that include the whole neighborhood or just the public sidewalk like in front of this building?
It's primarily.
It's all throughout the neighborhoods.
Anywhere there's a slope.
Yeah, it's
You don't have,
throughout all the
one of
neighborhoods.
the, like 3, 4, and 5 don't really have much slope. It's 1 and 2 that are really sloped
Yes,
from here to down. That's where your problems are.
yeah, because it's in front of
Probably right by you guys.
Okay, we have one last agenda item.
Okay, H on the agenda is the Plaza membership proposal. Ellen, I think you were probably more involved in this than I was, weren't you? For the explanation, or should I?
Yeah, just talk about that.
Okay, guys, the next item on the agenda is the Plaza membership proposal. As you may be aware, there have been several discussions over the last few months regarding membership of the Plaza Clubhouse. Our community documents have very specific language regarding the definition of who is eligible. The board has sought legal counsel regarding this issue and has reviewed all of the opinions they received. And based on this information, the board understands that there are situations where the document's provisions result in an outcome that is undesirable for the community. And they understand that they have the discretion under the governing documents to provide some interpretation as well as an option to provide additional memberships under the rules they choose to adopt. We did send out the proposal several days ago for the membership to review, and the board does intend to approve that proposal today. This proposal will allow individuals who are not eligible members based on our documents to purchase additional memberships to the plaza and use the recreational facilities. Additionally, once this is implemented, we will be looking at the membership as a whole, completing another audit, and we'll be addressing those current residents who fall outside of this policy. And we're hoping that this is going to align with the new rollout of our new POS system with Forties in January of 2024. So what we send out to the community was the proposal and fee structure of how people will be able to purchase additional memberships to the plaza. The main question that I received when we sent this proposal out was what is the problem that we were trying to solve? And the problem that we're trying to solve is that we have a large number of owners in this community who are not eligible to use our amenities based on our documents rules. So this policy changes that, and we give them the option to purchase an additional membership without having to amend the entire declaration. So as you can see, there is a fee structure here for owners and for tenants. And yeah, so do we have before we, it's up for discussion, do we have a motion to approve this?
So move.
One second. Discussion?
Hi, all. A couple of things. This was an outstanding item from turnover in terms of doing a proper audit. Stand this. And doing a proper audit of the membership. And I know it was something that the previous board had pushed to do primarily in advance of the POS system conversion because garbage in and garbage out. A little bit of history. We have information on Connect. We have information on the POS for the plaza. And we have information on the POS down at the golf course, and not one of them are the same. So I would just encourage the board to take their time to do the audit properly, figure out what the scope of all this is, because I don't think you know, unless you have a business case, how many new memberships you would sell, how much that impacts. I mean, if everyone here came tonight to the plaza, there wouldn't be any room for additional members. So I don't think it's meant to be a money-raising thing. I don't think the plaza will ever make money, and I'm sorry if that's news to you. I don't think the plaza will ever make money. Having said that, I think it's important that rather than go ahead and jumpstart this because somebody is pushing you to get an answer because it suits them, and I'll leave it at that. I think you should take your time, be thoughtful about it, do the proper audit. You don't need to do an audit and do another audit later on. If you need to grandfather people, so be it, but take your time. You set a precedent with the plaza. I don't know how you'll differentiate the definition of family and membership between the plaza and the golf course. And we all know that, 937 homes times 2 is 1874, and that's not enough room at the golf course for those members, let alone these facilities. So I would just encourage you to pause, finish your audit, identify things. You've got a lot of people that rent their houses out. You've got corporations and trusts that you need to identify who are the designated owners. Yes, it's not clear in our declaration, but there's some pretty specific things in section 17 that if you make it different for the plaza, I think you open up to a whole can of worms. So I would just encourage you to pause and do the job properly rather than rush into it because somebody's on your case.
Can we, okay. We do have some comments online. One, the proposal is unacceptable because current ownership should be grandfathered in as was promised at time of purchase. Okay. We have 5 owners. How do we tell one owner they can't have a membership? Change the docs and represent the owners like the board should. What is the rationale that all residents cannot have a membership card? If the community does not agree, how do we change this? You want me to just read them all and then we'll comment? Okay. Just to clarify, this is just for the plaza and not for golf membership. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. This is just concerning the plaza. And other than some special event, I've never had a problem getting a table at the plaza. Anyone?
Unfortunately. Well, the plaza and the golf course are 2 different sections in the document.
Not necessarily, because you've got 3 legal opinions, none of which are the same. And I can tell you that third one wasn't helpful either. So all I can say is go do your homework, figure out how many new memberships you might sell, But at the same time, I do not know, like, if you've got real estate agents that say anyone can join the plaza, they'll be saying anyone can join golf, and I do not know how you're going to differentiate. Unless you start to enforce rules in the declaration. So either do your homework for this, change the declaration. But as far as I'm concerned, you're opening up a whole can of worms, and I don't think you should feel pressured by the people that are pressuring you.
Actually, the people that told us to do this was in a legal meeting. And it was the attorneys that said this was the best way to approach the problem. So,
I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
Well, at the end of the day, the attorney can only give us advice. It's up to the board to make the right decision for the community. These are the community documents. Board can take the documents that make sense. My daughter for 2+ years now is the third resident in our house. She's had a car. She's come up here, spends money at the plaza. Now that's one revenue stream that's gone. So I'm not going to spend $250 so she could have the honor of coming here when she go get a better brunch at First Watch or somewhere else. Other than the 30th, 31st of the month, this place is nearly empty all the time. So we're taking potential revenue generators. I know one family that they have they're out of town, but they have 2 family members that live here that are residents in the community. They bring their daughter up here all the time to use the pool. They have to use the pool, they have lunch, they have drinks, they have whatever. Again, generating money for the plaza. This place is desperate for revenue. So what are we going to do? We're going to cut out a bunch of revenue. It makes no sense. It's a stupid decision. It's backwards. Whether it's First Services idea, lawyer's idea, or whatever it is, we're taking steps backwards. We're looking to get ourselves a deeper financial hole.
My name is Sharon, and I'm probably one of the people Stephanie knows quite well. I contracted for a home here in June, the end of June. And basically, I was told at that time, it was my grandson and myself that were buying this home. So we are related, but I was told that we would both get a membership. When I came in September, I was told that my grandson, who is an owner and who is on the deed, could not get that membership, only myself, because he was related to me. So I am very happy that the board is taking a look at this and wants to give a proposal. I understand too that it's nice to do an audit and get it right. That I agree with.
But you're responsible for reading the declaration too.
I wasn't given the declaration until the middle of July.
That's
so,
my issue.
And you're right, I should have had the declaration up front, but I also should have been told about it when I came here and I sat down with individuals and was told that we would both get the membership. So, and nobody mentioned this until September. So it has really been hard for my grandson, who would bring a lot of revenue. We have people visiting, him. He would be up here, he would be coming and eating here. And I just don't quite understand. And I do think it should have been changed in the documents. That would have been the best alternative. But legally, I can understand that this is an alternative. One thing I do know in Florida HOAs, that every member is supposed to be treated the same. And I'm going to say that I don't think that is the case. Because in this case, they grandfathered individuals here that does not fit or shouldn't be allowed under those declarations to be coming and having membership cards. I know that for a fact. I know someone that told me that they have someone living with them. They're not an owner, they're not on the deed, but they have an access card. Now, how can that be? When you're in the audit. Well, I think so. I think they should do an audit. But I've already been here since September, paying the HOA. My grandson's paying the HOA. I can't come up to the plaza. So all I'm saying is, do I think it's right that we do an audit? Of course. But I also think that, I think legally, is everybody being treated the same here in an HOA? Florida rules.
That is Therese, thank you. Can you come a little closer so you're a little closer here?
Basically, it's the same situation. I came up with a situation where probably gonna inherit a home here. Okay, unfortunate circumstances. But I cannot rent it to my children. Put them on the deed even. I would give it to them and deed them. One of them has to pay because they're sisters. They're blood related. So I have to pay, what is it, $175 or $250 every year so that one child to the plaza. And the plaza is empty. I come up here and spend thousands of dollars every month. I'm here probably more than most people. And yet my daughter wants to come up here with her friends. Now you're gonna tell her no, you can't. You can't sit up here and spend $25 a night on food and beverage. And the place is empty most of the time except for special events. That is wrong. This is something that we changed in the declaration, and so that 2 cars per home. I don't care if you got 9 people on the deed, you're only allowed 2. You decide. But the 2 people on the deed or on the lease should have the exact same rights as anybody else. So you're telling people that your blood relation, sisters, brothers, mothers, and daughters, don't move here. Because we are not equal opportunity. We don't believe in equal rights to everybody. So I would suggest, look at this, please, and move forward with changing the document so that 2 cards per home, doesn't matter whether it's on the deed or a lease. The lease is a legal binding document. 2 cards. If you have 4 people, too bad. You get 2 cards. That should be right. Thank you.
So Rich, so you want 2 cards, I think Matt wants 3 cards. In other words, we've got a divergence of opinions, right? Now, one of the challenges, the reason we didn't go down changing the declaration is because where this sits in the declaration, you need a member's vote, a full member's vote, 51% of 937 homes. Even at this meeting where we had a lot of engagement with topics that everybody's concerned about, we have maybe 120. So to get to the threshold of changing the declaration is going to be exceedingly difficult, I think. We can try it, but we'd also have to figure out what the exact wording is, right? Because again, I have no idea what was in Lennar's head. My speculation is somehow they knew the size of the facilities and they wanted to somehow limit it. So they didn't allow the blood relation. They allowed effectively 2 cards unless you were blood related, they don't allow 1. So they must have had something in their mind. I have no idea what their thought process was. But that's the Constitution, the contract that we have. And I think if we selectively enforce different rules or whatever, we find ourselves in trouble, like the woman said, where, you can't treat people differently. So we're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, and that's really hard. And we're trying to figure out what's the easiest way to put that genie back in the bottle. And I know the plaza revenue is a big issue, but we're also thinking about what does the gym look like? If we have so many members and you have to wait for treadmills and you get into arguments over 30 minutes versus, can you get off? I want to do this. We're also looking at the pools. Do we ever exceed capacity? Maybe we don't, but we could. So in other words, it's not necessarily just purely focused on the revenue for the food and beverage. It's looking at it holistically. And I hear everything everybody's saying, and I agree with a lot of it, right? But it's like, how do you come up with that sort of fair middle ground approach? And maybe we'll end up deciding to table this after we have these discussions. But it's all those kind of things that we've got to think about. And ultimately, this is a contract that everybody who bought in, agreed to, and it's the Constitution. It's our rules and regulations that we have to sort of follow. Now, they weren't followed. Yeah, but again, that's what this was. This was trying to change it.
We're allowed to do things, so.
Yep. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that, sir.
I'm Doug Nelson. I really applaud what you guys are doing. Maybe you guys took a lot of heat, and I appreciate it. I want to talk about this one a little bit because I was one of the first people in the plaza. At that time, the people that ran the plaza would give a card to anybody that was on the lead. And those cards still exist. And now
what you're telling them is the people that are out there, well, we'll just go to the Oasis instead. We'll go spend money somewhere else. And you're not, to me, this doesn't help getting people to buy here in Champions City. Because they say, well, this is just another way for them to grab someone. We're going to increase your budget. I know that's not right.
Talk to minimum.
I know that's not right. But that's what people think. And you have 85% of the homeowners that don't golf. So you have to listen to them too. Now, in all this, we've talked about money. And in this situation, we're talking about something where we're trying to tag money onto the homeowners. My suggestion is, let's take a strong look at everything. Our homeowners association, that's all of us here. We need to take a hard look over the next year. Plan, develop, if you want to call it a strategic plan or an operational plan. Number one, to get out of the hole. And it doesn't mean continually tagging the homeowners with an assessment or $200 for a card to someone. It means being creative. Get out there, have people come in. There's a million ways to do a lot of this stuff. I mean, I look at the golf course, and there are a million ways for you guys to make money. You guys just have to be creative and not look at the way it's always been done. And that's the same thing here. We can't look at the way it's always been done and we'll just add a fee and add a card. Because one of the things, and I know you had an attorney, okay, that said yes. I know attorneys that have been wrong a lot. And, but one thing I'll tell you, are you trying to redefine family? Are you trying to redefine the term family? Because you kind of do when you go from once they're 16, once they're 16, they have to have a card, don't they?
Okay, that's 3 minutes.
I'm going to do it and ask 3 minutes on a lot of
Okay.
people.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
You guys define a child as 16 with that. You got to take that all the way to 21, or you got to look at the, let's see, housing and urban developments and fair housing's definition of family. Otherwise, you go in violation of it. And what's that say? What people are saying in the background, they're trying to make this a 55+ community. Think about that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying what you're doing is bad. I want you to take a longer look and do something that's in benefit to everyone. Thank you.
Anything online?
Yes, we do have a few comments online. I will read them. I am so confused. Are you eliminating owners from having a membership card so you can sell memberships to the plaza?
No.
No, that is not what's happening. I agree with Marilyn. Stop making changes unless you know what you're doing. Learn something from the golf situation we now have. By limiting members, you are losing revenue. You legally can't contact a homeowner and ask them who lives in their home. The owners are a matter of public record. Selling additional cards is an option that should be considered. Put the whole community after a town hall meeting and written takeaways being distributed, but not by dictates or a simple board discussion. And if the owners are public record, why is the board saying all owners of a house can't have a membership? Only 4 can have a membership. And why are only 2 owners considered members and 2 more owners have to pay extra? Those were not in the rules when we purchased our home.
Well, they were in the rules because the document hasn't been changed. And
Yeah.
you have to
Mark.
enforce the document.
Hey, Mark, that's what I was going to say. You know, this topic kind of upsets me a little bit because everybody's, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, but there are many people that are getting upset about us trying to help the situation. Because if you do read the documents, I'm actually on a naval base right now. It's kind of like, it's you're married and the kids that reside with you in the home all get benefits. And that's kind of how the plaza works right now. And then somebody finds out, their 30-year-old daughter or son that lives in the home cannot get benefits. Well, that's the way it was. Like when we bought homes, we're supposed to read things. And that's the thing, somebody mentioned something about realtors. Like that's why it's really important for, when people buy homes and get stuff is to read the documents. You can't trust what everybody says all the time. And I thought we were going to get a lot more love for putting this out because now you're able to bring in your 30-year-old son or 30-year-old daughter and buy extra passes. And I keep seeing comments in here that says, we don't want the revenue at the plaza. We do want the revenue at the plaza. We want people to come to the plaza, and that's exactly why we put this out. Now, is it absolutely 100% perfect? We thought so when we ran it out, but obviously we see some things that people don't like. It's like I said before, everything that the board puts out, we're not going to get right on the first try. But I'm telling you right now, this is a step in the right direction. I'm sure you all would much rather have this than going off the actual governing document, and then we take all those passes away, and then they can't come in. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I think we should get this through. And obviously, we can always make changes as we move forward. That's it.
Any other comments?
Hey, Mark S. It's
Yes.
Eric. I just want to say, because I'm coming at this from two different perspectives, Country Club and Master. A lot of people made fair statements tonight, which is what we've been living under is not what is contained in our documents. And unfortunately, when you try and implement or enforce what was originally in the documents and how they were intended, it's going to ruffle feathers, especially when people, were told one thing and the documents read something different. So I agree to a certain extent from what Terry said in relation to having flexibility in, how the definitions actually read in the documents. But I would just implore the board to have some empathy for the people who have lived here for a number of years, who weren't clear on the documents, who weren't clear on the declaration, who, were living under a different guide and now have to, are working within, again, the parameters that are being set, which are fair, I think, at least, from the plaza perspective. And, I would just say, for the people that are in the audience, please understand the board is trying to do the best that they can in relation to the interpretation and really the enforcement of what the intent is, and really trying to work with this resident community on what's in the best interest of the community. So please be patient and please ask questions as you have them.
Thank you, Aaron.
So I guess based on the feedback, the question is, do we go with what we have or do we step back? John's obviously new here, so probably needs to get farther up to speed. Do we look at it with a fresh lens? There probably are a few components to really tie down potentially. But if we do decide to table it, what's the operating protocol? Just continue to not allow new cards to be issued? We leave it one grandfather, or do we just pause everything? In other words, that's my big concern is what is our.
Well, Alan, I don't really think we should table the situation right now. I think we can fix some things on it. But I mean, we have members here who have daughters with 40-year-old daughters that are handicapped, and the way our documents read, they're not allowed to come up to the plaza by themselves, and caregivers and things like that. I think we should move forward, and then obviously we can always add to it if we need to add to it or change things as we go, just to help those individuals out.
And I think a lot of people have to understand that if you bring somebody up, you don't need anything. This is just so that they can come up
by themselves,
unattended, by themselves, that without being a guest. This is not limiting how many guests you bring up. If you're here, your whole family can come up. This case, there's a lot of, there's some houses in here. And one thing that brought it up was you've got an in-law suite. Okay, so you've got an in-law that moves in with you. According to our document, they can only come up here as a guest. And I got in on the tail end of this, but I know lawyers are lawyers, but I sat in on a legal opinion or a legal conference with our attorney, and without changing the document, this is the best way to avoid a lawsuit that they could come up with. Now, are the prices fair? I don't know. Because
$10 or whatever.
They'll have a minimum that they have to spend.
I hate to,
Have to spend money.
That's a good idea.
yeah, I mean, I hate to say what we're trying to get against too is a local person, you know, a relative saying, well, it's going to cost me $50 a month to join a gym and a pool and a restaurant. So I'll just go down to mom's house or grandma's house or whatever and have her get me a Plaza card that I'm going to pay $10 for. I mean, in that case scenario, is that fair to us?
If they prove that they're resident here, their address is here.
What do you do if,
I know, that's what I mean.
yeah, what do you do? Yeah, I mean, that's part of it that you have to prove you're a resident there, but it's already come up. What if my daughter lives in New York and has no proof that she is a resident here?
Make the homeowner buy the cards for whoever wants cards. It has to go to the homeowner. Has to be registered in the house. So when would we buy 2 cards? If I've got 2 guests, which I often have, many guests, and I need a card for them, it goes through me. What they spend there should go on my credit card. So it all comes back to me. I have no problem with that.
That's even expanding it to like a guest policy versus a.
Brendan, you want to pay my bill?
Yeah.
You want to pay my bill every month? Is that all right?
That's a real laugh.
I have renters.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
Turn it on.
Brendan, turn it on.
Turn it on. Turn it on.
Humor.
Yeah. We get a lot of humor.
Oh, you're not used to being on
No, I
stage.
didn't sorry, I misunderstood what the actual discussion was. I just dozed off halfway through. But I will say this, sometimes I feel that there are more restrictions on us here as homeowners than there are on people who come down for 2 weeks and stay in the villas. They seem to have freedom to do what they like, to go where they want, and we seem to be restricted at every single turn. Just want to say that. I'm going back to sleep.
Lisa?
Like my son and his wife who live in the next gen home, and they live there, and they're on a lease, a rental lease, because they wouldn't give us cards unless we had them, and they do pay us rent to live there. So, I mean, they won't pay the $250 to come here and eat and stuff like they do all the time. But would they still be able to go to the retreat and the other pools though, because they are renters here and live here? And would the other pools still be open too?
If you're a renter,
Be able to access, because it'd be a transfer. Because they're on a lease.
right.
They're on our lease. We did a lease for them because they rent from me. So you're saying their cards are good then?
They should, if they have a lease,
Yeah.
they should be under the family definition.
If the homeowners screw it over.
Says there's a lease on file and it is expired. You pay a transfer fee of.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which I would suggest is quite low at 175, because we have 60 homes here that are actually rented out. But if you have a business, they should be entitled to. Now, you don't get it under theirs. Like if they lease from you in a separate home, that's it. But if they lease from you within your own home, that doesn't work.
Well, we're in the next gen home, so they are sort of in a private home.
Only,
within our-
you only get one family visit. Under the current rules.
Yeah, that's what they told us when we bought. They just wanted to prove that they were renting and we had a lease, so.
Like Lennar didn't leave us any favor.
No.
And, you know, nothing was in. I appreciate the dilemma that we were under.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to take something away that people already have though, and I can see the new people, but you explain to the new buyers.
You've got people that have represented the community incorrectly. And that's a problem. So if you have issues with this, then clearly what we need to do is have a frequently asked questions and a cheat sheet for real estate agents that says, here's how the rules work. And not let the real estate agents be like, I think the next thing, I just don't know how we're going to differentiate the plaza from golf. And as soon as golf goes crazy, we're in deep trouble.
All right, so I think I'm going to make a motion that we table this. We have another month because we weren't going to do anything about it until January. We can get John's opinion. He's got a lot of expertise in this HOA stuff. And then discuss it prior to the next board meeting in December, and then we can come up with a decision. That's a motion I'm going to make right now. Or we can sit here and talk until 3 a.m. Whatever you guys want to do.
Second.
We have
Against
second?
the Eagles too.
I'll second.
Kelsey.
Oh, they are.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jerry?
I'm good.
Are you?
Okay, before we adjourn, I would like to give John an opportunity to stand up, introduce himself, and tell us a little bit about himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Lambert. My wife and I live in Phase 5. We moved here back in the end of June. I am a regional president for the third largest community association management company in the country. I have approximately 10 to 15 years of HOA experience, both on business side as well as the board side. So my goal to join the board tonight or today, or I should say, to put my name in, was to do whatever I can to help the association and the board itself. I'm here at any time, any questions or whichever it might be, but I do have a lot of experience. I am a regional president for our company on the west side of the country. I'm responsible for 6 divisions right now, and we manage about 400 communities in those divisions. So with that said, it's a pleasure to be here. I thank you all. I look forward to working with you, meeting you maybe. I probably won't remember your names, but if you do have any questions for me, be happy to answer any questions after the meeting.
You're very welcome.
Good job.
Let's do adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Adjourned.
I know I doesn't count, but the Chiefs are playing.
I'll tell you, Terry.
And Taylor Swift is not going to be there. Oh. We had to do a Rio de
He's one that we just
Janeiro
highlighted it also again. Just to, maybe there's actually some.
Yeah, so I understand exactly.
Yeah, I know. That's why I figured out.